Today I'm going to be doing another beef jerky. I've been thinking about this for a long time. Instead of doing a wet solution, Worcestershire sauce, soy sauce, stuff like that, I'm going to use a dry rub. So I've been thinking about this for a little while. I had ordered some of this sea salt infused hot peppers from the Sonora Spice Company. No plug, but I decided to give it a try, and it's really good. It comes with its own grinder, and you pop the top, grind it onto your food. It tastes really good. So it came in a 5-pack. So I kept most of them in the jars, but I took one of those jars, and I put it in my coffee grinder, and I made like a really fine hot pepper salt. And it's really good. I have quite a bit of it left, but I've used it on a lot of recipes already. It's really good. So, recipe that I'm thinking about doing, I'm going to give it a try, is I'm going to take some peppercorns, get the really fresh taste, put some peppercorns in my coffee grinder. And it's got enough right there. I'm going to throw in some dried hot peppers out of my garden, jalapenos, serranos, different types. Throw those in there. And then I'm going to do a steak seasoning. So we're going to give this a try. I'm going to grind a little. Ooh, smells good. So I'm going to grind it up. Get a really good grind. Yeah, look at that. Turned out pretty well. Still some big chunks of hot peppers, which that's what I want. So I'll dump it in the bowl right there. Put some of the steak seasoning, unground. Touch of garlic powder. And some of this, some of my hot salt. I'm not going to use a whole lot, maybe just a little bit. After all, I don't want to have a heart attack or anything. So, I have my mix. Mix it up. Yeah, it looks good. Mix up pretty well. Kind of like a dry rub for this jerky. So if you remember in my last video about beef jerky, you want to cut this meat with the grain. So I get a really good cut of Angus, London broil, Angus London broil. I've trimmed off a lot of the fat. You don't want too much fat in it. It doesn't really taste good when you dehydrate it and make jerky out of it. So you want to cut it with the grain, find out where the grain is. Maybe about 3/4 of an inch. Some of these I do like to cut into smaller bite-sized pieces. Sort of a bite size, just a little bit of small of a piece. go. There's a little bit of fat there. Trim some of that off. So I already have some cut up. I'm going to begin seasoning. Try to rub it into each and every piece. Get it all over. Oh yeah, smells good. Yeah, get it rubbed into each and every piece. So we're almost done. Now I didn't measure out the amount of ingredients. This is kind of like a trial and error phase. I probably would have wanted to do just a little bit more seasoning. But we're good. Yeah. All right. So each and every piece is pretty well coated. Now I'm going to put this in the fridge for about a day. I want to give these spices time to work themselves into the meat. I'm going to put them in a baggie. I'll seal it up and put it in the bottom of the fridge. Hopefully nobody will see it and try to cook it for a meal. Would not go over well with people in this house. I'm pretty much the only one that likes the spicy foods in the house. So, I'll like it. I may even try this recipe with a good piece of meat on the grill. Getting every bit of the spices. I think that was just enough. So, sorry I can't give you the exact proportions of the spices. This is kind of one of those trial and error dishes. Get out as much of the air as possible. Seal it up. And I'll let that sit in the fridge. Let those spices work themselves into the meat. And then tomorrow, it'll be ready to go into the dehydrator. Here we are, we're ready to put the beef onto the dehydrator. Now, it sat in the fridge a little bit longer than I wanted to. So it still should taste good, so I'm going to go ahead and lay it out on the dehydrator. These pieces are a little on the thick side, so I'm going to want to dehydrate this a little bit longer than usual. I'm probably going to go with at the least maybe 16 hours, maybe longer. I'll check it after about 13 or 14 hours. I'll check it to see how it does. So I'm going to evenly space it out, make sure that there's plenty of airflow between the pieces. Yum, looks good. Ooh, look at that, a little on the thick side, but yum. No worries, it'll compact as it dries. I also added a little bit of smoked or liquid smoke to it. I found a little bit in the pantry, so I tossed it in a bag with the rest of the meat. So along with the spices, it'll have a little bit of a smoky flavor too. So we're almost done here. Looks good. Turn it on in just a minute. We'll be good. Well, I wound up having to dehydrate this a little bit longer than I expected due to the thickness of some of the cuts. I left this in there for 16 hours and it turned out pretty good. So, some of the thinner pieces, break it up, perfect. And then some of the thicker pieces, perfect texture, perfect flavor. As you can see, I've already had a couple pieces, but it turned out really well. I think this is a really good recipe that I came up with. So I'll probably make some modifications to this recipe a little bit here and there, and hopefully, hoping to share the upgraded recipes with you guys. But I truly believe that you really need to spend the money. If you're going to do this, spend good money, get good quality cuts of meat, find something with as little fat as possible, a pretty good cut of meat, so that you have a good quality product once you're done. If you go with a really poor quality meat that has a lot of fat, a lot of marbling in it, you can do this, but then I would cook it on the grill. I wouldn't dehydrate it as beef jerky. So these seasons, I think, would work out pretty well both ways. And it's not as hot as I thought it would be. The hot salt that I used, if you use it the way I did on a normal piece of meat and cooked it, or used it in a dish like that, you would have a little more heat. But to this, it's just a slight sting maybe, if that, but it turned out pretty well. So with that said, yum. Time to enjoy.